Welcome to the Charlie's Edition Show, the joy of gay sex series, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Charlie, aka Miss Charlize, of course. Take a look at my earrings. And of course, you guys know, as I've been telling you over the past few weeks, that this is the new style of Charlie's Edition and of all the shows, where instead of having to go from part to part, you can see everything right here on one video. I'm going to edit it together, of course. First of all, I want to say that Charlie's Corner will be debuted next Monday. It was supposed to be debuted this week, but it's going to be debuted next Monday. So we have a lot to talk about, but I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's Joy of Gay Sex series. Now, shockingly, this is not in the Joy of Gay Sex book. I wanted to bring this topic up and talk about it because I met somebody offline yesterday, of course, just chatting or whatever, and I brought up the question, what are you looking for? And they said they were looking for friends with benefits. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't do the hookup thing. I'm just looking for a friend, like an actual friend or someone to date. And they're like, well, I want a friend with benefits. And I'm like, well, to me, a friend with benefits is a fuck buddy. Plain and simple. That's what I think. Because, and he's like, no. Like, a friend with benefits is someone who goes out and hangs out, like watches movies. Alright, so, one of the topics that I wanted to talk about out of the flawless book, Joy of Gay Sex, is drug abuse. Now, I haven't really looked up the details and the statistics on drug use within the straight community and the gay community, but definitely you notice that a lot of the gay community is more suicidal and uses more drugs or drug use than any other community. And I think my opinion is that one of the reasons behind that is because a lot of gay folks' parents disown them or don't accept them for them being who they are. Maybe transgendered parents, or dads who out their sons for being gay, or their mom saying you're not going to be a lesbian in this house, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, that lesbian or that gay male or whatever may feel like they have no one else to turn to. Their family doesn't appreciate them. Their family doesn't love them, blah, blah, blah. So they wind up turning to drugs. And it becomes, of course, an abuse thing, which is absolutely horrible. And definitely I will do a little bit more research on that and figure out exactly what kind of statistics it is compared to that. But from what I have read the other day, I saw that, gay folk are more suicidal and more prone to using drugs. So I'm going to read a little bit out of the Joy of Gay Sex book about drug use, tell you guys about some of the different drugs that are usually used and things such as that. So let's go ahead and read about drug abuse. There are two epidemics in the gay community. The first, obviously, is the AIDS epidemic. The second is the widespread use of a variety of party drugs that has caused irreparable harm to gay men. In contrast to AIDS, education, and treatment, the gay media pays little attention to drug and alcohol addiction. They treat it as a mildly serious problem. In a previous edition of this book, we took a cautionary stand on party drugs because scientific research on their effects was only in its infancy. In the past 10 years, we've learned a great deal about them, and the verdict isn't good for habitual drug users. This common complaint by professionals against party drugs is that they are disinhibitors. When we are under the influence of a drug, including alcohol, we drop our normal inhibitions and good judgment. Of course, men who see themselves as shy, inhibited, or particularly sensitive to rejection like the feeling of disinhibition because it makes them feel alive and in tune with the crowd. We all have some kind of wall around us, but for most of us, it's a permeable structure. Others have walls made of concrete that restrain them from feeling alive. disinhibition or inhibition something dissolves the walls, at least for a short time. So, what's the problem? Number one, that word leaves to taking other drugs. A few drinks of alcohol may provide a satisfying buzz in one person. Another might want to feel even better, and that could lead to a few shots of, or a few snorts of coke, a hit of ecstasy, and maybe a bit of crystal meth. The combination of that spells trouble. The second problem is unsafe sex. Alcohol and drug abuse is the #1 cause of unsafe sex today, including the lunatics out there who call themselves barebackers. While under the influence of drugs or alcohol, a man who would never normally allow someone to F them without a condom may end up getting F'd by one or more men who come in his ass. Drug use can also lead to participate in sexual activities that cause physical damage. Some party drugs are anesthetics. Some men often aren't aware of serious damage done to their assholes, rectums, or other parts of the body by partners who are themselves oblivious to and sometimes unconcerned about them, the harm that they're doing. Drug users might also participate in sexual scenes that make them feel exceedingly guilty in the morning, if they remember them at all. Drug use is not the only cause of disinhibition. The social environment is equally important. A common scenario is this. You're among friends and other gay men dancing at a dance club or circuit party. Shirts are off, and the view is enticing. Everyone looks to be having a wonderful time. That's when friends suggest you take a hit of ecstasy or do some crystal. Why not? You think you probably have no idea who's produced the drug, what it contains, or how your body will react to it. And that's where disinhibition comes in. The combination of the social environment, the sexual vibes all around you, and the peer pressure, everyone else is doing it, and the psychological effect of the drugs on your body often makes you unable to care, even though they may lead you to disease and or addiction. We don't want to be nannies and chastise you for having a good time. We simply want to give you the best information available about party drugs. The most common are listed below, with explanations of why men take them, their effects, and their dangers. As with all decisions about sex, it's your choice whether you use them at all. Use them a little or let them take over your life. Now, I'm going to tell you guys about the different drugs that are commonly used in gay men. So, stay tuned for that. Holla. Alright, so what are some of the drug uses that gay men use when it comes to drug abuse? And I'm going to explain a little bit about each of these drugs as well. The first one is ecstasy, also known as X, technically called MDMA. Ecstasy is a synthetic amphetamine, the type of drug that stimulates the central nervous system, what men call an upper. So, ecstasy is taken orally. The effect usually begins anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes later, usually in the form of a sudden amphetamine-like rush, leading to a feeling of tremendous physical and mental well-being. Initially, they may also be an intense desire to defecate, known as the disco dump. It can remain at its height for as long as 3 or 4 hours. Ecstasy keeps men dancing all night. They feel a sense of relatedness to those around them, feel happier, and experience a pleasurable, altered perception of time and the ability to perform mental tasks. Dancing relieves the agitation caused by the drug. Men feel sexier on ecstasy, but the ability to get a hard-on or to come is more diminished. Therefore, it's a thought of a sensual rather than a sexual drug. So I have heard that, like, apparently makes you feel all high and stuff, but if you try to have sex on ecstasy, no comment. So very interesting. So that's just a little bit of information on this drug, and I was going to read a little bit more about that, but there's a lot to read about that drug. The next common one is cocaine. Coke is probably the second most popular party drug in gay life. A stimulant as well as an anesthetic, it has been used for centuries to blot out physical pain. It is a product of the crystallization of the oils from the leaves of a cocoa plant, generally grown in a swamped Pacific Ocean mountainside terrain from Central America down through South America. In the gay community, cocaine is most often found in powder form and snorted, but it can also be injected or smoked, crack. Some users inject a mixture of coke and heroin called a speedball. Cocaine enters the bloodstream, blocks nerves in the brain, and releases 3 neurotransmitters: dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. You experience an initial rush of euphoria, confidence, and talkativeness. Like ecstasy, the drug taker feels highly sexual without having any real ability to have sex. Many people who take the drug say they can't sleep, can't eat, and get hard or come. Constipation is a common side effect. In higher or repeated doses over time, cocaine may cause irregular heartbeat, heart attacks, seizures, and strokes. Withdrawal lasts longer than the high. Over time, men who habitually snort cocaine will destroy their nasal passages. Some men, it may be dose-related, experience paranoia and hallucinations. Sometimes the hallucinations may be or become tactile and you feel things all over your skin. This is called the cocaine bugs. While not a narcotic, cocaine is highly addictive, and kicking this habit can be extremely difficult. Narcotics Anonymous is the treatment of choice. So that's so far a little bit about 2 of the drugs that I read so far. So coming up on part 2 of Charlie's Edition, I'm going to tell you guys some more drugs that are actually used when it comes to the gay community. So stay tuned to part 2, ladies and gentlemen. Holla back.